Hello and welcome. I'm your host and speaker SindhuShree, and I'm a MuleSoft developer at Infometry. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. In today's webinar, I'll be talking about MuleSoft Flex Gateway. Feel free to drop questions on the topic or share your struggles and experiences during this live session. We will answer your queries through chat. Let's start the session. This session is organized by Infometry. We are a pure play data analytics company based out of Fremont, California, with our offshore development center in Bangalore, India. We came into inception back in 2010, and since then we have been offering domain-specific analytics solutions for high-tech, energy, life sciences, retail, manufacturing, and finance customers. Infometry has been an engineering and consulting services partner for companies like Informatica, Matillion, Snowflake, Tableau, Adaptive Insights, Looker, etc. Infometry offers domain-specific analytic solutions for high-tech, energy, life sciences, retail, manufacturing, and finance customers. In addition to the services, we have also developed more than 15 cloud connectors for IICS. One mentioned in the blue blocks are developed and owned by us, and the rest are all developed by us only for organizations like Informatica, SAP, Calidas, etc. We have developed a state-of-the-art analytics solution, InfoFiscus, which can be hooked to any on-prem or cloud CRM, ERP, or planning applications. InfoFiscus is a 100% cloud-based pre-built analytics software developed using open architecture. InfoFiscus comes in 3 different flavors: finance, supply chain, and sales and marketing analytics. That's a quick introduction. And now let's move to our today's agenda. In today's webinar, we are going to discuss Anypoint Platform Flex Gateway, download and installation steps in Docker container, registration and run Flex Gateway in connected and local mode, managing APIs with the Flex Gateway in connected and local mode. Anypoint Flex Gateway is MuleSoft's new ultra-fast gateway designed to manage and secure both the Mule and non-Mule APIs. It can be run on a public cloud or on-prem. We can run Flex Gateway in 2 different modes: connected mode by using Anypoint Platform Web User Interface, local mode by using YAML config files. We can perform the following tasks with the Flex Gateway. Review prerequisites. Before setting up Flex Gateway, we can review and make sure all required software and hardware are available and permissions are assigned. When it comes to permissions, Flex Gateway requires a manage servers and a read servers permission. An admin can assign these permissions in access management to the runtime manager. We can install Flex Gateway in 3 different ways: as a Linux service, in a Docker container, or as a Kubernetes ingress controller. We can register and run Flex Gateway in 2 modes so that we can start using it to manage APIs. Register and run in connected mode, register and run in local mode. By default, Flex Gateway runs in single replica, but for production, you will need more than 1 Flex replica. All replicas should run in the same mode. We can manage both the Mule and non-Mule APIs in both connected and local mode, and we can apply both automated and custom policies. Command to download the Flex Gateway as a Docker image is given here, and also we have command to verify the installation status. This is the command to install, download and install MuleSoft Flex Gateway. So when you execute this command in the command prompt, then we can install this in the Docker. Now the installation is done, and now let's see whether the the Docker image is present or not. So let's execute the command to check the installation status. Yes, here we can see MuleSoft Flex Gateway in Docker image. So registering and running MuleFlex Gateway in both local and connected mode. If we have username and password for Anypoint platform, we can use these credentials to register Flex Gateway, and we can register and run using a connected app. If we do not have a username and password for Anypoint platform, we can use connected app credentials, that is client ID and client secret, to register Flex Gateway. We can create connected apps in access management. If you do not have a username and password for Anypoint platform, we can use a registration token generated by the Runtime Manager UI. To get client ID and client secret in the connected app, let's go to Access Management. Here we can see connected apps. When we click on this, then here click on Create App. Then app acts on its own behavior client credentials. Then add scopes. And the scopes, as I mentioned earlier, we need a read server and manage server permissions. Enable read server and manage server. Click on next, and here select the business group and the environment, and review the scopes and click on add scopes and save it. Provide the name for the connected app. Now click on save. So here you can see the connected app has been created, and you can copy the client ID and client secret here. If you want to get the token ID, go to the Runtime Manager. In Runtime Manager, click on Flex Gateway. If you click on Add Gateway, we can select Docker. So here you can see the command to pull the image registration and to start the gateway. Here, if you look into the command to register the gateway, here you can see the token and organization ID for registering and running the Flex Gateway. The following informations are needed for register and run using a username and password. The username with the read server and manage server permissions for Runtime Manager. The password with the read servers and manage servers permissions for Runtime Manager. Environment ID and organization ID for Anypoint platform. Split. The default value for split is false. If a split is set to true, registration information will split into two files, registration.yaml and certificate.yaml. If false, all registration information is contained in one file, registration.yaml. Output directory, the directory in which registration information is output. And the name of the gateway, connector. The default value is false. If the value is true, Flex Gateway will register and run in connected mode, else in local mode. Register and run with the connected apps using client ID, and the client secret are same as registering with the username and password, except client ID and client secret. And registering with the token, we need a token and organization ID, split output directory, gateway name, and connected are common. Now let's see how to register and run the MuleSoft Flex Gateway using token and organization ID. This is the command, and here is the folder location, the directory to store the registration file, a YAML file, and here is the organization ID and token ID. And here the connected, the value for the connected is true. So that I'm gonna register this Flex Gateway in connected mode. And this is the name of my Flex Gateway. When I hit enter, the registration will get started. Now the registration is completed, and let's see the Flex Gateway in Anypoint platform. So in Runtime Manager, when we go to Flex Gateway, we can see the Flex Gateway. The name is Flex Gateway Connected Mode, and it's in disconnected mode. So to make it active, we need to run the Flex Gateway. We have registered, but not yet started. So we need to run the Anypoint Flex Gateway. Here is the command to run the Flex Gateway, and here we need to provide the registration, the directory where the registration file is there, and the port. I'm registering this, or I'm running this Anypoint Flex Gateway in the 8082 port. So when I run this command, it started, and if we see the status in Anypoint platform, now it's connected. And before going forward, let's see where we can see the registration file. Here I have mentioned the directory in the documents, config files, and connected. Let's see whether we can see the registration file here or not. Here is the location. We can see the registration file here. This is the registration file looks like. Managing APIs with Flex Gateway is similar to managing APIs with the Mule Gateway, like adding an API either from zip file or from Exchange. And select the Flex Gateway from the list, configure settings like endpoint, implementation URL, consumer endpoint, and so on. Save and deploy our APIs. And also we can apply both automated and custom policies to our APIs. Now let's manage our Mule API in an API manager using Flex Gateway. So I'm adding a new API, and select the Flex Gateway. Click on next. Here, let's select the gateway from Exchange. Here, I cannot see any APIs from Exchange. Let me publish my API from Design Center to the Exchange. Now the API has been published to Exchange. So here, if we refresh the page, let's select the Flex Gateway, select the API, and here implementation URL is mandatory. We must provide the implementation URL, and this is the implementation URL for my application, which is already present in Anypoint platform, and this type, the protocol is HTTP. The port is 8081, but it should be the port number should be same as the port number we register the Anypoint Flex Gateway, which is 8082. Then review the configuration and save and deploy. Here is my API employees API response without policies. Now let's see what the response we will get with the policies. Actually, we haven't applied any policies, but we have created. We try to manage API using Flex Gateway. Now to run that, here is the URL. It should be localhost. The host should be localhost because our Flex Gateway is on Docker image, the Docker container. The port should be 8082. Here is the output. And let's see how we can apply policies. Applying policies in Anypoint Flex Gateway is similar to applying policies with the Mule gateways. So I'm going to apply rate limiting policy for now. Number of requests 3 for 10 seconds. Now the rate limiting policy has been applied. Let's test this API, employees API and Postman. Yes, we are getting too many requests error response from the API as we applied the rate limiting policy, and also we have set the number of requests to 3. So after 3 requests, we are getting too many request error response. Now, let's see how we can manage non-Mule APIs in the Anypoint Flex Gateway. Add a new API. Select the Flex Gateway. Here we cannot see any active Flex Gateway. Let's go ahead and find the active Flex Gateway. Yes. Here we can see the active one. So select the Flex Gateway. Click on Create New API. Give the name and the asset type for the API. The name I'm going to give JSON placeholder API, and the type I'm going to choose HTTP API. Click on Next. For the demo purpose, I'm going to use this JSON placeholder dummy REST API. Here we can see the URL. Yes, in the API manager, let's test this URL for users and a particular user with the ID. Is both are working fine. Now let's give this URL. Let's copy and give this URL in the API manager. And the port should be 8082 as our Flex gateway is running on the port 8082. And click on next. Save and deploy our API. Now our API has been added in the API manager using Flex Gateway. Now test this API without any policies. Give the host and port and the path. It should be users because we are going to test this JSON placeholder API for users. Okay, the port should be 8082. Yes, it's giving the users a response and test this test this API for the particular user by giving the ID. Yes, it is also working fine. Now let's apply some policies to this placeholder. For now, I'm going to apply basic authentication. Give the username and password. Click on apply. Now the basic authentication policy is applied to our JSON placeholder API in Flex Gateway. Let's test this API without username and password. Due to some cache issue, it's not working properly in the Postman. Let's test this API in the browser. Yes, here it's working fine. It's asking for username and password and test this API by giving the valid username and password. Yes, it's giving us the users, set of users from JSON placeholder API. Test this API with the invalid username and password and see what the API, how this API will respond. Yes, as expected, it's not working fine. It's not giving us the user's response as we are not giving valid username and password. Again, let's test this API with the valid username and password. Yes, it's working good. Now, let's register and run our Anypoint Flex Gateway in the local mode. Here is the command. Here you can see the ID and the token, and also value for the connected is false. As the value is false, this Anypoint Flex Gateway is going to register in the local mode. And let's give the unique name for our Flex Gateway. And when we hit enter, it's going to register. The registration started. Yes, the registration has been completed. Now let's run this Docker. Let's run this Anypoint Flex Gateway in the local mode. Here we can see the registration file is created in the given folder. here is the command to run the Flex Gateway in the local mode, and I'm running this Flex Gateway on 8083, and I have a standalone MuleSoft standalone server which is running on my machine, and also I already have Order API deployed in the server. Let's test the server, this API, Order API on MuleSoft standalone server, and the port is 8081, and it's giving us the order response. Here are steps to manage Mule and non-Mule APIs with the Flex Gateway in local mode. Create and publish an API on Mule server. Create a configuration file with the .yaml extension. In YAML file, we can configure both Mule and non-Mule APIs. We can apply policies. Save the file in the Flex Gateway configuration directory. The gateway automatically refreshes the configuration. And here is the sample YAML file for Order API, and the address, the IP address and the port is 8081, which is the address of our API, which is running on the server, standalone server. And 8083 is the port where our Flex Gateway is running in the local mode, and the path is the API order. I'm going to save this YAML, order YAML, in the folder where we have the registration file. Saving this file with the name order API, and the file extension should be .yaml, and save the file. Yes, here we can see the order API in the same, the order API and also the registration file, both are in the same directory. Now let's test this order API on Anypoint Flex Gateway. Let's change the port to 8083 and test the API. Yes, it's on 8083, on the port 8083 also it's working fine. For now, I haven't applied any policies. I'm just running the plain API without any policies on the Flex Gateway. It's working fine. Now I'm trying to apply basic authentication policies to our order API, and username and password. I'm giving admin and admin, both are same. And I have saved the file, and now let's test this API. Yes, it's giving for not one unauthorized exception without username and password. Now let's pass the valid username and password and test the API. The username and password has already been set, admin and admin, and it's working fine with the basic authentication on Anypoint Flex Gateway in the local mode. Now I'm going to I'm going to manage non-Mule APIs. Again, I'm taking the example of JSON placeholder, the dummy REST API, to manage in the local mode. Using Anypoint Flex Gateway in the local mode. And here I haven't applied any policies, rate limiting or basic authentication, anything. Now let's try testing the APIs in local mode without any policy, so it's working fine. It's giving us a set of users from JSON placeholder on the port 8083. Now I'm going to apply two policies, basic authentication and also the rate limiting policies for our both APIs, order API and also JSON placeholder API. And in the rate limiting, I'm setting the maximum request to 3 to run in 6 seconds. Now test this API for users with the basic authentication. It's working fine. Let's give the let's test this without authentication. Yes, it's giving us the expected error for not one unauthorized. Now test with the username and password. Yes, it's working good. And also this rate limiting policy also is working fine. After some requests, it's giving us too many requests. Error response are both the basic authentication and also the rate limiting policy for our JSON placeholder API is working fine. On the Flex Gateway in local mode. Now let's test this API, this rate limiting policy for 10 seconds. I'm changing the time period in milliseconds from 6 seconds to 10 seconds. It's working fine. This is about MuleSoft Flex Gateway installation in Docker, managing and securing APIs using Flex Gateway. Now please ask your queries regarding the webinar.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Hi. Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, actually, my question is that if we have a Mule API running on a Cloud Hub, so we can manage it on API and we can apply any policies. So, is there any exception or any other reason that we can expose this API on a Flex Gateway as well? Mule API specifically.
The main reason for using Anypoint Flex Gateway for Mule APIs is the speed. As I already said in the introduction, the Mule Flex Gateway is the ultra fast gateway in MuleSoft. So it is faster than Mule Gateway. So this is the one main reason to manage Mule APIs in Flex Gateway.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. Actually, my second question only is about if we are setting up the Flex Gateway on infrastructure and through Dockers, but how to set up Mule runtime on a Flex Gateway if we are setting it up on any cloud or on our local machines, then we need to install Mule runtimes on a Docker images, right?
No, actually, if you want to on Docker image, that's not only about how to configure the Mule server on Docker image, the standalone server, but I configured it locally, not in the Docker.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Uh, Hi, Sindhu.
Hi.
Yeah, myself Sumant here. I just wanted to know what are the policies that we can apply to these APIs in local mode.
Okay. So other than basic authentication and rate limiting, we already saw that how to apply the basic authentication and rate limiting policy. And other than that, we can apply automated and resource level policy, and we can configure the TLS context too.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Hi, Sindhu.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, how to uninstall Flex Gateway in Docker?
Yeah, we can uninstall Flex Gateway by removing the Docker image. But before that, we need to stop the container which is using the Docker image. So to stop the container, we can use the command docker rm and the container ID. But before that, we need to find the container ID. For that, we can use the command docker ds. So once we stop the container, then we can use the command docker rmi and the Flex Gateway image name, MuleSoft Flex Gateway, to uninstall it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi Sindhu,
Hi.
it's Vijay here. So actually, like how to add a Flex replica in a Flex gateway.
Yeah. To add a Flex replica in a Docker container, we need to run the start command using the same registration.yaml file. Running registration command is not required, but if the container is running locally, then we will need to use a different port.
Okay. So basically, it will be like we need to see the port numbers.
Yes.
first.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Sindhu, Rakshak this side.
Yes.
I was doing up on POC and I was trying to install the Docker. I was trying to set up a Mule runtime, standalone runtime on a Docker, but I was using a Docker file, but I was having some errors in that. So will it be part of the configuration in the Docker file only? What will be the basic, prerequisite for that?
To install the runtime manager. So
Standalone runtime.
Yes, standalone runtime, right? So actually, as I mentioned, your name, please.
Rakshak.
Rakshak. I'm sorry. Actually, I have no idea about how to configure this runtime in the Docker image. I can help you with the configuring a Flex Gateway in Docker.
Okay.
But if you need help or answer for that, definitely I'll get back to you with the answer through email.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, great. I think I have addressed all your queries. So this concludes the webinar, and you will receive an email containing a link to this broadcast. And thank you for your time. We hope you have learned and enjoyed this presentation, and see you soon in our next webinar. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Sindhu.
Thanks, Sindhu, for a great session.